Hello world, and welcome back, or welcome if you are new here. February is drawing to a close, and that means it is time for March. I am finally not late with my bullet journal setup. I am quite pleased with myself, and I am even more pleased with how my theme for March came together. This is an odd one, so bear with me. I'm going to try not to spend the entire video gushing about this manga and this show, which is going to be a challenge. My theme for March is a manga and anime called Horimiya. I'll have information about that in the description, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on in the video. Basically, it's a high school-based romance with a little bit of comedy thrown in. It's mostly slice of life, following these two main characters and then expanding to the rest of their friends and classmates. And I fell absolutely head over heels for this in February. I found it by random chance, and there's a 4-episode OVA that's like a pretty low quality animation style, but is a preview of what the show is. I watched that. And then there's a manga. The 15th volume is coming out this June, I believe. So it's been going for a few years. And then there's also now an anime being produced, which is very, very high quality animation. And I just absolutely love it. I kind of struggle with describing why. It's one of those things that just clicks perfectly with my tastes, and I just absolutely love it. So it felt like the natural choice. I had so many other plans for March. Speaking of other plans, oh, my ruler betrayed me here. Anyway, but this is just what came together, and I was struggling with like the color palette, and then there's this like whole subplot about mandarin oranges that shows up a couple of times in a couple of different ways. And once I decided on orange, which is a very unusual color for me, everything clicked, everything was perfect, and I am ecstatic about how this came together. So I'm doing an approximation of the font that is used for March, and I'm doing a big calendar layout instead of a list that I've used previously in 2021, and keeping things honestly pretty simple and straightforward. I think the main thing was I wanted to focus on the color and the feeling, as abstract as that is. I really don't know how to describe this. So the show itself, the story itself centers on our two main characters, Hori and Miyamura. Hori is a very popular, pretty, very well put together kind of girl in school. She's a very good student, but then outside of school, she's actually a homebody. She stays at home, she doesn't wear makeup, she always has her hair up and out of her face, she wears very casual clothing, and she kind of manages her entire household because her parents work so much. So she takes care of her brother, she does the cooking, the cleaning, all of that kind of stuff. But no one in school knows about this. And meanwhile, Miyamura in school is considered very gloomy. He doesn't have any friends. He's very quiet, very reserved. There's a lot of rumors that like he's an otaku and like he's kind of creepy because he's very quiet. But outside of school, he is kind of flashier. He pierced his ears with a safety pin himself when he was in middle school. So he's got a bunch of piercings, and he wears his hair up out of his face and wears more alternative style clothing that's much flashier outside of school. And by happenstance, the two discover their outside of school lives and develop a friendship that eventually becomes romantic. And there's just something about it, like I said, that really clicked for me. I think this is going to be incredibly difficult to describe, but I'm going to do my best. I am someone who met the person that I dated for a long time, ended up marrying and have a child with when I was pretty young. I was 17 when we started dating. But even though I have lived that life of falling in love very young and still being with that person, there are very, very few stories of teenage romance that I actually connect with. It always feels very unrealistic to me in stories to find the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life when you're that young, even though I'm someone who did that. But with this, I think there's something about it that it actually feels very genuine and very natural for these two people to have a connection that feels like it lasts. So I hope that made sense. I don't really know. Back to the actual setup that I'm doing. I'm doing something I have never done before, which is a graph mood tracker. I don't know how I've never done this before, but it just has never been something that I have attempted. So I've got space for my gratitude log on the left, and then on the right is a very simple space to graph out my mood. And you can see I kept things extremely simple this month. I made myself little printable calendars for my habits because I didn't want to bother with all of those numbers. So I basically put together a printable sheet for myself for this bullet journal setup between the prints and the screenshots from the manga itself and a couple of screenshots from the anime itself. I just made myself a little printable and the little circles, which I love circles. That sounds super strange, but I do. And I don't use them very often, but definitely something that I think I want to incorporate more because I absolutely love how it came together for this. Also, I know that there is no heading for my gratitude and mood trackers. When I added in the washi tape, I knew right away that I was going to overlay a heading on another piece of paper to add that layered effect, and I didn't have that ready, so I just didn't bother doing it. And I mean, you already saw it on the first page. I messed up with the R for March, and I didn't go back and fix that until after I was done filming. So another imperfect setup, but that's the way that bullet journaling goes sometimes, and that is okay. This is the final page in my monthly setup, which is my monthly wrap-up. I've actually been doing pretty well at keeping up with this so far. It's only been a couple of months that I'm doing it, but I'm definitely liking it. It allows me to, when something really good happens, I can write it down right away. I don't have to wait to the end of the month. Or when there's something I know that I'm going to need to focus on next month, I can write that in, or whatever it is. So I'm really enjoying this as a new feature in my bullet journal. And I'm looking forward to actually the end of March when I will do my first quarterly goals check-in to see how the monthly wrap-ups feed into that check-in that I'll do. So maybe I'll actually get myself together and I'll do a video about my goals check-ins and how I process through that. It's something that I've been interested in doing for a while, but I've never been able to figure out what the format would be for that because so much of the actual content itself is something that's private. So who knows? Hopefully I'll be able to figure that out, but if not, another future project. And then this last couple of pages here is my first weekly setup. I've really been liking just creating a top and bottom frame with some washi tape. I've done that several times in 2020, and then I also did that in February, and that's it. Here we are at the final flip through. I hope that you have enjoyed this. I know it's pretty simple, but I think it's very cohesive, and I think it really communicates the tone that I wanted. If you happen to have read or watched Horimiya, please let me know down in the comments. Something as simple as just the orange emoji would be enough, or if you want to talk about the show or the manga, that would be pretty cool. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed, and I will talk to you all later.